Hi class, today we're going to learn how to create guides within a document. But before we create guides, we need to have our rulers visible because that's what we use to create the guides. And right now, there are no rulers visible. I can tell that because this is where they're going to go, right along the top here and right down the side here, and they're not visible. So let's make the rulers visible. To do that, we go to View, Rulers, Show Rulers. While I'm here, notice that the shortcut for showing rulers is Control R. So keep that in mind. Now we see we have a ruler going across the top and down the side. Remember that shortcut I just told you about, Control R? That is a toggleable shortcut that you can toggle, which means using that shortcut, if I want to turn the viewing of my guides off right now, I can click on Control or Command R and notice that they're gone. If I do it again, Control R, they come back on. So that's how you toggle those on and off. And we'll be able to do the same thing with our guides, and I'll show you that once we have our guides in. Now I want to line up this piece of type right here to make sure it's perfectly centered in the middle of this document. It pretty much looks like it is, but I want it to be perfect. So the way I'm going to do that is to create a guide right down the middle of this document. And the way I do that is to first make sure that my rulers are zeroed out. And in order to zero them out, in other words, to make sure that 0 is at this corner and at this corner, and you can see right now it's not. This 0 is right down here and right here. I want to zero out the corner. So I'm going to grab this corner of the ruler right here, click, hold, and drag until I see the word intersect appear there, and then let go. Now you see I've got a 0 right at this corner and a 0 at this corner. So the document I'm working with right now is 8.5 inches wide. I need to have a guide in the center of that, which is 4¼ inches. So right there's 4 inches, there's 4.5, so that's 4¼ right there. That's the spot I'm going to be aiming for. So to create that guide, which I want to go down the middle vertically, I'm going to pull the guide from this ruler. So I'm going to click on the ruler and drag and stop when I get to 4¼ and there's my guide. Now remember when I told you you could toggle it on and off, the shortcut for toggling a guide on and off is Control semicolon. I'm going to do that right now. Notice it's gone. I'm going to do Control semicolon again. It's back on. The other way, the longer way to turn guides on and off is to go to View, Guides, Hide Guides. We can also clear the guides, and we can lock or unlock the guides from this View Guides. We have these choices here. Now that I have the guide in there, right smack in the middle, I'm going to click back on my piece of type, and these anchor points right here indicate that I'm way off. So I'm going to drag until that center point is on the guide. So now I'm close to it, and I can keep fiddling around, going back and forth, trying to get it in the middle. But an easier way to do it is to nudge, what's called nudging. And that's by using the arrow keys on your keyboard. I'm going to nudge the left arrow until I get it right into place. So now I'm going to, now that you know how to line something up that way on your document, let's take a look at how to line up an object with another object. So I'm going to create a rectangle. I'm going to click here on the rectangle tool, and then I'm going to click one time on my artboard, and I'm going to specify the size that I want my rectangle to be. I'm going to make it 4 inches by 6 inches. There's my rectangle. And I'm going to switch the fill to stroke here by clicking on swap fill and stroke right there. Now look how easy it's going to be to use my selection tool and just line that up right in the center. So now both of these are lined up on the center. What if I want to line this rectangle up with this type? I'm going to bring in another guide to do that. So I'm going to click and drag, line it right up with the edge of that type. And now I can move this over and line that up. And now both objects, this is an object, this is an object, are lined up with that guide. Let's see how it looks when we toggle the guides off. Control semicolon. It's all very nicely lined up. Now I'm going to turn those guides back on, toggle them back on, control semicolon. Now I'm going to show you how to create guides inside an object. So I want to create 1/4 inch guides inside this rectangle to make sure that everything that I want to be inside that part of the rectangle is easy for me to see. So I'm going to zero out again. I'm going to select my rectangle, go to the corner of the rulers, drag until I get to the corner of the rectangle, and let go. Now I'm zeroed out. And I'm going to zoom in so we can more easily see where 1/4 inch is. It's right there. So I'm going to drag, I should say, from the side. And then I need another one on this side. So this object is 4 inches wide. So 3 3/4 right there is where I want this guide to go. Drag that one over. And now I need one at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to bring this one down to 1/4 inch. Oh, that's not 1/4 inch. That was 3/4. There's 1/4. And if you can't quite see where the 1/4 inch markers are, zoom in more. And now it's a lot easier to see. So I'm scrolling down to get to the bottom of my document. Here's the bottom of my 6 inch rectangle. So I need to get to right here for 5 3/4. So again, I'm going to drag from the ruler from the top and stop right there. So now I have guides inside my rectangle. I still have my center guide, but I'm going to ignore that for now and just look at these guides. So now if I want to make sure that anything I put inside this rectangle stays within those guides, it's easy to see. So let me create some more type here. And select it. And now I can snug that piece of type right up into that corner. And I know that it's inside my 1/4 inch guides. Same thing if I want to line it up with this guide. I can drag it right over there. If I want it to line up with the bottom, I can line it up right there. Now, what if I want to line something up in the center of this rectangle? Well, let's click on the rectangle again and create a center guide for the rectangle. We know this is center right here of the rectangle. So I'm going to click the ruler and notice that that dot went away, but there's a dot right smack in the middle of the rectangle right there. So I lined up with that. So now if I want this piece of type to be in the center, zoom in, not quite center, so I'll nudge, and now it's in the center. It's in the center vertically. If I want it to be center in the whole document, the whole rectangle, there's center again. So I'm going to drag from the top, put that guide there. Now this is the center of the document. Let's drag that type down. Let's get closer so we can see what we're doing. I'll nudge using the arrow to go up, and now I'm going to use my left arrow, and there's my type. Make it bigger, right in the middle of the rectangle. You know, as you're working, if those guides are bugging you, if they're in the way, you can again toggle them off. Control semicolon. They have not gone away. They're still there. They're just toggled off. Control semicolon brings them back. You can just go back and forth with them, turning them on and off. That's how you create guides.